We're live.
We are live. I cannot believe it.
How's it look out there? Is it looking good, folks?
I think it looks good.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, everybody.
Wait a second.
Let me tell you what's going on. What's going on here?
Welcome back. It's been 40 years.
Yeah, it's been ages. Hey, Kate Welch is in the chat, everybody. Say hi to Kate Welch. What's happening here is I've moved to an offsite studio. And the internet is very slow. It's like 30 down, but it's also 30 up, which kind of all we really need, I think, clearly, in order to stream and for it to look good. So we are back. How you been, Ray?
We're back, yeah. Dude, I've been great, man. I've been missing Livebrush. I'll tell you that.
Me too.
It's been weird not having Wednesdays like this. I don't know how you been.
Been good. I gotta fix my audio here. It's apparently low. I'm just gonna move my mic way up in.
Oh, okay.
Way up in my face.
Am I okay?
Yeah, you sound good to me, but I don't know about the chat. Feels like I'm just gonna hit my gain too, just to be safe. All right, we're in the yellow at least on my mic, so it's probably pretty good. Ray, you're perfect. Don't change it. Don't change a thing.
I'm perfect. They say I'm perfect.
Yeah. Kate says you're perfect. She's in the chat.
I know I am. Thanks, Kate. You're perfect, Kate. Even Kate's showing up. Oh my God! Can you? This cannot fail.
I want to do a quick shout out to Simon Mark. Thanks for coming in, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, it is 2 a.m. That sounds pretty early, but appreciate you watching.
Dude, wow.
It will never end. It will never end. We will do this forever. Forever and ever. We'll just have huge gaps, huge random gaps where we promise to come back in a week and then we don't. And then we'll promise to come back in a week and then we don't. That's how we're going to play it.
Listen, it wasn't, let's just say it wasn't planned. Okay.
No, it wasn't planned. I think we planned to come right back, and then I was moving studios, and it's been like a really slow transition where I bring over like one or two things every day, because I'm just trying to get work done as well. And yeah, we didn't expect this to happen, but it did. Now we're here. Good story, right? Ray's vanished. He's like, I'm out of here. We're not back.
I'm out of here. We're over. No, I'm just lowering your volume because it went up on me.
Oh yes, Simon. It will totally be uploaded. I try and get them up by Friday morning. It's usually my goal. So what are you doing today, Ray? What are you working on?
I'm working on a underpainting for a study in oils. I've 8x8 landscape for an upcoming holiday show at one of my galleries.
Dude, nice.
So what about you, dude?
What gallery is this?
This one, I don't know. I don't know yet. It's a toss-up. So I don't want to have it on paper or have it on video that I promise one yet. But it is for one of the galleries. One of the galleries for sure. It'll be hanging at a certain point in one of my galleries. What about you, dude?
I'm just gonna doodle, I think, on my end. I was worried, I was worried this was gonna fail. So I was just like, I'll just doodle just in case. Because, our backup plan was we would just use audio and stream like a radio show on Twitch for an hour and just field
Folks,
questions.
we didn't have much of a backup plan, okay?
That was our backup plan. Turn this into a radio show, which I think is pretty good. I think that could work. Describe the paintings. All right, Ray. Describe your
really.
painting.
It wouldn't have worked.
Oh, we can still do this. We're going to do it right now.
It wouldn't have worked, dude. It wouldn't have worked.
Actually, I think that would be really good. I like what Kate has proposed here, that we do an old-time radio show but we just talk about what we're painting in vivid detail.
We have to be like, yeah, but like we need like so we have to be partially like Foley artists too.
Yeah, well, yeah, there'd be a lot of like scrubbing sounds, like like that kind of stuff.
I want the like the flexible metal thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, where they make like the thunder.
Thunderstorms. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I've always wanted one of those.
The only reason I know about that is because I think as a kid they used it in like Winnie the Pooh or something, and I saw some behind the scenes or something, and I was just blown away. I thought it was like they would record thunder sounds, but instead, no, it's just a metal sheet. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, when did I know that? I don't know.
You were probably
That's a good question.
Probably born and knew it. Like from the get-go.
From the get-go. That'd be incredible. It'd be absolutely incredible. I'm trying to get my chat up here. I don't know why I cannot do that.
Well, we don't have any questions yet, so we're doing all right. They haven't put the screws to us yet. Ray jumped off. I better fill the dead air. I am just gonna doodle here. I don't know what it's gonna be. Kind of like last episode, I just doodled that space guy. I don't know what it was, but I don't know. Maybe we're doing something, another sci-fi thing again. We'll see.
Coming back.
He's coming back. So yeah, I don't know. It looks kind of like a space mask. So maybe we're gonna mess with that. Come back to us, Ray. So, no questions in the chat, huh? No, you guys aren't dying to hear incredible stories. Well, let me explain my intentions here. I think I'm going to do like a spaceman mask again, another space theme, because I don't do enough sci-fi work. I want to do more. So I'm going to kind of clean this up. It was like demon horns to begin with, which again is very fantasy of me. So what I usually do. So I'm changing that up, do something different. All right, we got ourselves a question. Sorry, I was reading the chat here to see what was going on. Oh, wow. It's getting busy in here. Okay, so look at the most effective way to develop understanding of color in painting. This is a tricky one. Ray's going to be able to answer this best, so I might hold this off till he comes back.
Oh my God, Tyler! I'm sitting just within earshot, and
yeah,
he almost ended the stream.
I know. I didn't know what to say. I was like,
and you wanted to start a radio program?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to kind of like right then I was testing the waters to see if that would even work.
And
it turns out
like
doesn't.
You ever get friends that like well-meaning friends that are like, or just people that you meet someone and a friend of a friend, and they're like, you're an artist, I got this great idea for a children's book, and you're like, I'm sure you do, but you have no idea what you're getting yourself into, right?
Yeah, I many times.
So when you say
countless times,
that you're literally the parallel with like, we'll just turn this into a radio show.
Yeah, hey, I got a great idea for a podcast, Ray.
Air's so dead it's had a headstone.
I was
Welch
reading
has
the.
more content in the chat. Okay.
I was just reading the chat. I was reading the chat.
Yeah, but
this is a preview though of what a stream. If I just did a stream by myself,
you just blame the chat.
It'd be silent. Just be
reading.
I would just put a mic. I would put a mic on my. I would put it like right here.
Yeah.
Just hear that.
I like it.
I don't know if you can hear it.
I can't hear anything. Yeah.
Now I screwed up my mic. There we go.
You do realize a radio show, has audio in it. It's kind of like requires audio.
Yeah. So I think I might have to change that. We might have to backpedal on that a little bit. Try something else.
Oh my God. Santika ASMR, Kate Welch, off the top rope with the great content.
Oh my God.
Oh man.
We said we were gonna try something on the Instagram post, and we're trying it.
What did we try?
We tried to do a silent show here a minute ago.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, that's it. We did say that we were going to try.
Okay, we do have hold on though. We do have questions. So one of them was before Simon's. There was a question about the most effective way to develop understanding color in paintings, and I thought you were very well suited to answer this.
Well, you were right in assuming that. No.
I mean, I figure you teach a class on it and everything, so.
I do, yeah. So, yes. To develop, actually, you know what? Yes, to develop color, understanding of color in painting it's one of those things. I know I understand the question because I've asked the question myself because I had little to no understanding of color when I was painting, when I first started to paint. And the trick is actually to understand and study first light temperature, warm and cool light. And then the second is to really understand three things. Light temperature, understand light temperature, how that affects the local color of an object. Second thing is work with a consistent palette, and so that you understand how to create the colors that you want. And the third thing, which I think is the most important thing, is revisit and continue to work on your value, because really 95% of the problems or issues in a piece is not a color issue, even though you might think it is. It's actually a value issue, how light or how dark something is, because something with very little color, it doesn't take much color to make something feel like it has color in it, and it's one of the big misunderstandings when studying this stuff. So value is huge, and this is what I'm doing. I'm just doing, and I'd recommend you do it too. Try it out. I am painting an entire this entire picture in one value, just a really dark value. And I just mixed up ultramarine blue and burnt umber, which makes a chromatic black. They're warm and cool colors that cancel each other out. All you need to know is that it's just a dark color. And I mixed white up with it, and I'm just going to be painting all the values in my scene first. And then what I'm going to do is, then once this is dry, I'm going to work on top of it with color. And this will serve as a guide for me for my colors. And it actually goes really fast. And because once I understand how light or how dark something needs to be, it's really all I need to do is concentrate on the temperature and my color mixing. So hope that helps. I have a lecture coming up next week on Tuesday that deals with my work flow and how to go about doing that for like gallery paintings, like how I prepare my gallery work, and it's applicable to anything, illustration, and it's just general picture making. And I will talk about that a little bit more in depth there, because there won't be as many movie questions, questions about movies or video games.
Yeah, dude, don't give away your whole class. I mean,
yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
You guys want to know about it? Let's go to the class.
Yeah. Well, we could go. So what you could do is this lecture that it's 2 hours. It's actually, it's I think it's behind a paywall. However, I will on Livebrush. If you follow on Livebrush, and you follow me on Instagram, I actually will provide a code that will get you in for free. So that I got for followers, which is great. So you don't have to pay, and you can ask questions there and whatnot.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm going to use it just to, this is completely unrelated to the question, but I'm just going to use a real weird chunky brush and paint this whole thing with that. Because brushes don't matter, everybody. Brushes don't matter.
No.
Okay, so let's see. We got a question from Simon. He's curious as to how much I change painting from sketch and how often do I stick to the set plans. Usually I actually stick to the plan pretty hard. Like in this phase, when I'm just doodling like this, I will explore a lot and mess things up and rework things and change the size and shape of stuff. But once I have it all planned out, I stick to it pretty tight because this is actually how you should work. It's once you're into the painting, you shouldn't be changing too much. You should have done like all of your prep work ahead of time so that you don't have to make huge changes, because when you're making huge changes, when you're actually painting the painting, it's actually really difficult and causes you a lot of problems. And so yeah, you want to not do that. And I do that most of the time. Digital, there's a little more forgiving, so you can have a little more flexibility when it comes to dramatically changing colors and things like that. But ultimately, you should have done your homework and prepped ahead of time.
Is it interesting that I was thinking about this the other day, because I've been thinking a lot about just demos and things like that I do for my classes, and really those, every time we talk about like approaches and how to go about painting something, or a la prima versus direct versus indirect painting, all this stuff like mixed media, really that's just a step of how to get an image right executed. It's like an execution phase, and it's really kind of the tail end of the picture making process. There's so much else that gets done before that, right? And
yeah,
and I think that's where like even just my actual this painting, I mean, it took a while to design, and so now I'm just painting it. So the results, like to get results like the way you get, Tyler, is like that takes a lot of planning, and it takes a lot of consideration. And so a lot of times when you see someone like yourself, I mean, you're so fast that when you're executing something, it just it arrives, but people don't see like all of the other slow methodical phases that you went through in order to get the design down. You get to a certain point where I realized that you get to a certain point where the painting at that point, like you get to a certain point where the painting itself just needs to be painted because everything else is done. And I think that's the uh, the big thing that you realize when you start becoming a professional, and you need to generate a body of work. And to dovetail into what Lord Adornable is saying, so that's what I was considering when I was painting my first magic card, Tyler. That's the considerations that went behind that. So for those of you who don't know, I did work for Magic the Gathering. It was my first Magic cards. So the auction just wrapped up on my first card, and it was really, really exciting. It was a ton of fun to work on. So I worked with the art director on that was Kieran Yanner. Is it Yanner? Is that how you pronounce Kieran's name?
I always say Yanner, but it could be Yanner. He's never really expressed exactly how it's pronounced to me.
Great. It's a trap then, right? Because I don't want to get yelled at.
No. Kieran would never yell at you. Yeah. He's the very mild Australian type, not the Crocodile Dundee type.
Yeah. I didn't even know he was Australian. That's awesome. Yeah. So Kieran was the art director on that, and asked me to do that piece, and it was great. It was great, man. It was nice to do illustration again. I did do illustration early after I had came out of school. Started doing fantasy illustration actually for like Fantasy Flight games, and then went to editorial illustration for like magazines like the New Yorker, and then from there I started gallery painting soon after. So it was some time. So it was a lot of fun. It's crazy that I was hired off of my gallery work, which is so ironic.
They've been trying to open up the styles lately, so it makes sense.
Yeah, but just the the styles, yeah, but they it was fortunate that I just was familiar with the illustration process, because there's certain gallery painters that that not all of them are created equally in terms of like being compatible with
for sure
illustration process. It's
and I've experienced that. I've experienced that too. Like I've worked on some other games, and while I was working on them, we were trying to get artists that were like fine artists in on some of the stuff, but they just they were the type of fine artists that had no illustration training or background, and it became evident pretty quickly that they weren't appropriate for what we were trying to do, just because they didn't know how to deal with changes, they didn't know how to work to a style guide, all of those things that you kind of need to know as an illustrator. That you, Ray, you were fortunate enough to be trained as an illustrator. And so it gave you sort of the understanding and skill set needed, whereas there's a lot of fine artists that have never had any illustration training at all.
Right. Yeah. And it's it's a completely different mindset that I have, when I'm doing illustration. I've had the easiest I can explain it is the simplest I can explain it is like kind of paraphrasing another artist I forgot who had said this, but with illustration, like you're trying to please the expectations of the client, whereas in gallery personal work, it's really you're trying to meet the expectations of yourself, and so you're the art director, and it's you can't go in with that attitude when it comes to doing working collaboratively, like in the case of doing magic cards, because you're working in conjunction with an IP that needs to be consistent across many different styles, and so on and so forth. So
and I wouldn't say one's harder than the other. In fact, I would almost say gallery stuff is harder. Being your own art director, at least for me personally, is really difficult. But
Right.
You know, it's for some reason for me, my mindset, it's like it almost feels easy when I'm handed an art description. It's like, oh, okay, I can just paint this. Whereas it's like if I have to come up with my own content, I'm lost, man. I don't know what to do at all.
Yeah.
So
It's a
like
muscle, right?
Yeah, yeah. I guess
It's
something you train.
definitely a muscle. Yeah. Just it's not something that comes naturally. For sure, it's just doing it.
Yeah, you
Like
just got to get
now
in
it's
there.
like, you know,
Just paint the thing,
yeah.
dude.
But I mean, early on, it wasn't. It was like what to paint, you know, and that's where giving yourself that assignment. And that took a long time to kind of a lot of experimentation and because the only style guide that you have to paint to is your own, you know, and you're like, what's my style guide? So you got to kind of develop that, you know.
Yeah, I think that's sort of the
Yeah.
most challenging aspect of it to me is the style guide, like, is your own mark making, right? Like you want to stand
Right.
out, you know, where I try, you know, in my work, the most of the stuff that I do, and you've now have a taste of it with magic, is you're trying to interpret a brand through your lens, right? Through your lens of mark making and your style of painting. You're interpreting a brand, and sometimes brands don't want you to do that. They want you to be kind of like an
Right.
art monkey and just make their stuff and make their exact style that they want everyone to work in, which I don't go for.
Mm-hmm.
I'm never in for that kind of work. So it's I don't know. I lost my train of thought there, but yeah, it's
No, I get what you mean. I mean, like it depends, right? It's all different based off of the type of work that you seek. You know, like that's really common in animation, where
yeah.
like
Good
there,
point.
like you when you're working that collaboratively and have to generate that amount of work, it's got to all look the same. So you have to work to a style guide, and it's really strict. There is no variation, really. You know,
Yeah, I mean all of it has to look cohesive. You know, you
right?
can't have huge standouts in style, which I guess kind of calls back to kind of the stuff that Craig Nelson was telling us about Streusen posters and how there was like 20 artists that could all draw exactly like Drew Streusen, and they would do comps
Yeah.
for him when he was way too busy. And
Hmm.
he had one. He had that Police Academy one on his studio floor, just sitting on the floor. But
Oh,
it looked
oh yeah.
exactly like a Drew Streusen drawing. But it was a Craig Nelson drawing. It wasn't a Streusen drawing at
Right.
all. But just the idea of all these artists all working the exact same way because that's what the studio wanted to see. It's
Right.
fascinating time.
It really is, and you could tell like what a comp artist like the way it was built. You know, they had their own like certain way they work with tracing paper, a certain way they made lines, and
Mm-hmm.
they're all really interesting. That like Streusen, while he didn't start it, he definitely um, solidified it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. And
he was like,
when they were doing comps for him, they were making his mark making. They weren't doing like Richard Amsel's. Because Amsel's
right,
was
yeah,
so different from Streusen's. He really made
right.
blazed his own trail in that respect.
It really did. It really did. And cool thing about Streusen is that like he took what Amsel did, but then he made it his own. And the ironic thing was like 'cause that's what you know that's what an artist does. And then from there, everyone just copied Streusen. So they weren't making like it was the end in itself. It was his style was the end point.
Yeah,
Uh, and I always found that funny that like you would do that. Um, and they would hire you because you were cheaper than Drew Struzan,
mm-hmm,
you
mm-hmm.
know. And then
John
then once
Alvin.
they had it, it was John Alvin, right? Yeah. Um, so, uh, yeah, interesting times. But that's yeah. I mean, like in animation, I know it's extremely important that you don't have a style that you can actually work successfully in multiple styles and show that you know your ideas coming through in multiple different types of treatments, and
that's a skill in itself. That's just like
it's
completely mind-boggling to me to be able to draw
yeah.
exactly like the person sitting next to you. You know, like all those fill-in artists in Disney days. You know, where you'd have like the key art.
Yeah.
They do the key frames,
Yeah.
and then all these fill-in people
Oh yeah,
like
man.
match the animation
Yeah.
perfectly. That's wizardry.
In-betweeners. Yeah, in-betweeners. Call in-betweeners. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So the trick with that was like you had to have, and this is something that you had model sheets. So like this was the model, and you had to turn around, and then you had instructions on how to go about drawing everything in the model sheets. It was a style guide for the character.
Yeah, which like explains a
Yeah.
lot of those. Remember those tests when you were a kid? Like, do you know how to draw? And it
Mm-hmm.
would like show you a cartoon dog, and you'd have to like draw it perfectly.
Yep.
That's like
Right.
that comes out of the Disney school of like these all if you want to be an artist, the job you can have is being an animator at Disney, and what you got to do there is copy these style guides perfectly.
Right. Because it's you're part of a vision, you're a larger vision. So I just thought about like Fantasia, like 2000, for instance. Like every single one of those pieces were just a complete different art style, and like you have the same people working on a lot of those shorts, and it's like you basically you take yourself out of the equation in a sense. Like it's really those designers, like they understand. They're making a summation of like what a world is. They're world building it, right? And so I think that's where like why 3D was so important, or it latched on, was because you didn't have to. The human factor was in the mechanical hurdles, or the logistical hurdles, wasn't as prevalent. So because you had the same model, that means you didn't have to worry about something being off model.
Yeah, and how much
If that makes sense.
This is such an interesting thing that you brought up, because I think it makes total sense from what you're saying. But it's also like how many animators vanished from the scene when that occurred? Because it's like you don't need any fill-in artists. You don't need
right.
You really don't even need the keyframe people, because you have the model. You just need a rigger
Right.
and an animator to put it into place. It's like you've cut out like 50 people.
Yeah. I mean, it was like, just think even further back. When the Xerox machine came out, it completely made a position in the animation studios that was well staffed. Like small armies did it completely vanish.
That's interesting.
And completely irrelevant. And that was ink and paint. When you had, because for those of you who don't know the animation process, the way it was back in the day, you did a drawing. It was really intensive, in terms of just the amount of just human beings that had to be touching this same piece of artwork. So you had, let's skip the animation part, right? Because, okay, you have a principal animator, your head animator. They do most of the poses. The keyframes, like Tyler was saying. That is actually, we'll go back. You have a layout artist.
Go back to the beginning, too.
You
have a piece of chalk and a cave wall.
Yeah. You're in Lascaux, okay?
And you're trying to animate this thing on the cave wall.
You're trying to, yeah. So you have a layout, right, where it's like, okay, your character jumps in here, they have to go around this bend, and then they leave there, right? The head animator designs the movement, going based off of the layout. From there, you have in-betweeners, which usually are just junior animators that are then filling in the in-betweens, basically in-between drawings, to make them look smooth, because you're animating let's just say for feature length, and your Disney, 24 frames, 24 drawings a second, otherwise known as ones. And so
to jump in one sec, Disney always did 24, right? They weren't trying to cheat it like a lot of television shows did with like 16 or
with twos or threes. Twos. No, it was because they, I mean, that's for those of you who don't know, I trained actually to become an animator. That was the reason why I went to the Academy.
He's not just talking shit here, folks.
Yeah,
he's telling truths.
He's telling truths. I could be talking shit, but yeah, I am talking shit. But
no, you're not.
No, I'm not. So you had from the layout. Well, okay, so we have in-betweens, right? And then from the in-betweeners, then once the animation is checked, and that's just on paper, it would get sent to the ink and paint department. And so this is where it would get transferred onto acetate, okay? So in order to transfer the drawing onto acetate, you needed somebody to ink that.
It's like master copiers or tracers, essentially, right. Master tracers.
Right. Right. They were like comic book inkers, basically, right?
Yeah.
And they had to be consistent. This is an insane amount of skill that you would need to do that, right? And these people would fire this stuff out.
To get no wiggle, like this, when you look at like student animation reels, there's always wiggle all over the fucking place.
Yeah.
Like nothing's lining up really nice.
No.
But that's because they haven't mastered that part yet. And to see those Disney animations, there's no wiggle. There's nothing. It's like they're perfect.
Nothing. Yeah. And that was Walt Disney. He wanted to be as close to film and reality, as believability as possible. And so once the Xerox machine came out, ink gone. There was no inking because you could Xerox
the pencil drawing
right onto acetate. So what happened was you had actually another animator come in, an artist called a cleanup artist, and they would tighten up the pencil drawings and make sure everything was on model. So it's basically like inks, but they would just show up, they would basically just darken it. But it didn't take as much, dexterity, obviously. I mean, like, you had to be really good to be a cleanup artist, obviously.
But that era, like that Xerox era, didn't last forever, right? Like there was an era, like the Lion King wasn't Xerox, right?
It was.
Oh, yeah. It was.
Those are acetate cells, yeah.
Oh my God, it looks so clean, and they had some colored line in there too. Holy smokes.
So that's when they started messing around with, in Lion King, they started to mess around with digital paint.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You see, so they developed programs because then after it was on acetate, you would hand it off to a painter who, using a guide, would paint in every single, part of the character.
Yeah. Okay.
And so it was just
that's
so
crazy.
Think about no wiggle, right? No
wiggle, man.
And like Fantasia, you want to talk about some crazy stuff? There were people that were experts, just airbrush artists and dry brush artists.
Yeah.
That would animate dry brushing and airbrushing the damn cells.
That is truly incredible stuff. I mean, that's kind of crazy? The stuff like you sent me that video, didn't you? Of like the next level shit they were doing in Akira. Like what the animation company was like Ray sent me this great video of a guy analyzing Akira and talking about like how it's one of the greatest feats of animation ever because of the stuff that they do. And it's stuff that no animation studio would even attempt. And it was like, it just in the first 5 minutes, you got a motorcycle going down the street and it's shining its lights on a street scene. And then they animated every single shadow in that scene.
Every single shadow.
Moving in perspective with the light. It's just absolute madness.
Think about that.
I can't even imagine the workload.
It was insane. That's probably insane.
But I mean, it goes. That's why it's one of the greatest animated films ever made.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nutty. It. So you could see where technology kind of expedite that process. Because some of it is just, yeah, there were jobs and a lot of jobs got lost because of it, the developments of technology. But it also made it so that you didn't have to have Disney money in order to do an animated movie.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's that
You know,
whole, like, that's a great, it's a great way to sort of come back to the argument. Yeah, of course, people were stopped doing the work, but there was also a kind of a boom in more people being able to access the artistic medium. It's like before Final Cut and Avid and stuff. We were making crappy movies on. You had to like reel to reel cut it, or there was that one before Avid that I remember working on at Gonzaga with my friend Joe.
the
That was
toaster,
the toaster
video
thing.
toaster.
Yeah, it took ages to edit anything. But once you get into things that Adobe has made available, or just cheaper programs, right? Anybody can make a movie at that point. It's all about if you have the eye for it.
Right. And you could do it on your phone.
Yeah, you can just do it on your phone now. Make a movie on your phone.
I exported the other day 1080p video in like 3 seconds. It was like a 30-second clip. It would have taken forever in Final Cut on a desktop computer, in college when I was messing around with it.
Holy smokes.
All right, just think about that. And not 1080p either.
Not 1080p. This one's actually probably for you, man. So Wolvie Chop's asking, what are your feelings on showing / selling in a gallery setting versus selling online? Now, I sell paintings online. You recently sold a painting online, but you also have stuff in galleries. So what do you think about that? He's also asking if the worlds are separate or if lines are being blurred. For me, what I can answer on that is I don't have any gallery stuff, so I can't really speak to that. But the me selling stuff online, like auctioning magic paintings, has been really great because there's a really avid collector base, and you can leave it up to them to decide what the price is instead of worrying about setting a price, which I always stressed about when I had original paintings available. So that's been kind of my take on it. I've been really enjoying selling stuff online. But what about you, Ray? Because you do both.
I do both. Yeah. Before Magic, I was selling a bunch of stuff online. Some of my galleries all have online presence.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Have an online presence, and they have e-commerce and everything. Not all of them do, but definitely a Bend gallery, you could buy a piece of mine's right there.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And so galleries have had to. There's certain galleries that are very online oriented, and others that aren't. There are also like these little things that are popping up that are akin to basically just like collecting a bunch of online listings for artwork and putting them in like a nice neat package. Is there any difference? Well, I think it attracts a different type of person. There's certain people that really need to see the artwork in person before they buy it, and others that don't necessarily. If the pictures are good enough, they don't mind that at all. There's nothing bad or wrong about any of them. It's just a preference, and so I find that it is very much blurred. I mean, I think it's and I think it's going to continue to get blurred. I mean, when things, I don't want to say the dreaded metaverse word, but things are going to eventually move into a platform that is not even recognizable to the online platforms that we're working with right now. I mean, and we were just talking about how even in our lifetime how things have changed. and entire jobs completely vanished, and paradigm shifted about how people. So it's going to happen. It's going to continue to happen.
Well, we were just talking before the stream too about you were talking about, there's a certain amount of craftsmanship that people prefer, that they want to see, and there's also but there's also the amount of people that don't really care about that. They just love to own a thing. They don't really care about like seeing it in person, but then there's some that will only want to see it in person, or they, it's like I've been getting into watches like crazy lately, and it's like there are some people I know who are into watches as well, and they don't want to buy a watch until they've gone to a store and worn it, like put it on their, like feel it on their wrist instead of just how it looks in pictures. So there's a lot of like respect for the feel and the craftsmanship of an item up close, as opposed to, this just sort of like throwaway, like I'll just grab the thing and I'll have the thing.
Yeah. And how you experience art, I think it's online, and it's been in its infancy. I mean, I think that the metaverse project I'm working on with or I'm a part of, I'm playing a role in it, called WooBud. I think that like stuff like that's going to be the norm, where it's basically you're putting on a headset, and the headsets 5 to 10 years from now are probably going to be more like glasses, to be honest with you.
If they're not, it would be a weird world if they're not.
Yeah, it'd be really weird, because it's already the technology is developing at a super crazy rate, and so you're going to be able to experience that. You could actually see one of my paintings in virtual reality, and it will look like. I mean, you could ask Tyler. Right?
Yeah,
Tyler?
Can we talk about this? Like, it's live, right?
We can talk about WooBud. Yeah,
because we should plug it. I've experienced it. It's amazing.
It's still in its beta phase, but they are taking tours. They're still, but we have a gallery all built, that has stuff in, put my paintings and everything full. Yeah. Like it's like an actual gallery, and it's pretty wild, Tyler, right?
Have we told the chat about this idea? I don't know, but if we haven't, anyone who's new to the chat,
I did.
It's essentially, if you've ever been into VR, it's essentially a gallery room, like as if you're in the Met, and you walk around this room, and there are paintings hanging on the wall that are incredibly high fidelity. Like you can walk up close to them, like Ray just said, and see everything, like see all the grain and the cracks, and I think he has a John Singer Sargent in the demo, and you can walk all the way up to it like you're at the Met or something, looking at one of these pieces, and it's really cool. I think it's going to be a huge. Not even if nothing happens out of it, right? Like even if nobody sells any paintings in this format, it's a way for people to experience art in person, quote unquote. Because that's one of my favorite things is, Kate and I travel a lot, and I'm always trying to go to galleries wherever we go, especially all over Europe. There are just some amazing galleries, and there's nothing like that experience. So to bring it into a VR space, when I was sitting in the VR space with Ray and seeing his paintings hanging on the walls, it was like I was there. I got the same sort of impact of like I can stand back, I can get up close, I can get really close, which usually gets
Isn't that wild?
It was just amazing.
Isn't it wild? It's like it actually replicated. It actually replicated going to a museum.
Yeah.
Or seeing my work in real life, I was shocked. I was shocked at how much fun it was to look at artwork, and in that on that platform, because we were talking about that Sargent, and we were like, oh, look at this stroke. You see how he does this? And it was just like we were there. Mm-hmm. And yeah, when this comes out, I will be, because they're going to have other. I'm basically going to be the. I'll have my work there, but like, if it starts to expand and other people start to connect with it and plug in, and other museums maybe jump on board and offer up their collections, like I'd be there once a day. It's like having access to the world's greatest museums in my office.
Yeah.
I'm 100% going to be there because I would love that.
It's something I really liked about it was that, there's always, everyone's always saying like, well, you got to see that in person. Just wait till you see that in person. You'd be even more awestruck. And it's like, well, now you can. I mean, It's not actually in person, but it's pretty damn close. Like to the point where as technology advances, like Mark has said a whole bunch of times, you're not even able to distinguish it.
Right.
But
Mark Carter, our one of the who actually owns is the founder of Geneva Art Supplies.
We plugged him a lot on the
portrait
show.
painter.
I love his paintings.
Man, he's awesome. Painted presidential portraits. He's an inventor too. He's the guy's created.
He's a Renaissance man.
Yeah, he really is. And he's on YouTube, Draw Mix Paint, on YouTube, and he's a fantastic teacher. And we're him and Paul Walsh, who was part of the team at AOL that created Instant Messenger. He wrote a lot of the beginning white papers on the web, and just a real genius level person. He's helming this thing, and it's stay tuned.
It's gonna be cool.
I like the idea that I always use Mark's analogy of it. It's like we're in the brick cell phone phase of VR right now.
It seems like it. I think there are, for me personally, and I think for a good amount of people, I think there are a lot of hurdles that the technology is going to have to overcome. For me specifically, I never get motion sick. Nothing can make me motion sick except for a VR headset. That is going to be, I think, a major issue because I know there's a lot of problems with people having the same problem where they don't normally get motion sick, but for some reason a VR headset is causing it. And I'm sure there's some very simple solution that they'll discover.
Well, I think that's why I think augmented reality, being able to see your real life overlaid on top of VR overlaid on top of real life is probably gonna take off a lot quicker. It's like the solution is kind of like a thing that could do both. And so I think there's just some of the demos I saw, like there's a lot of practical things, like the Quest Pro demo where like you can put on the headset and see like your computer has all of a sudden 3 monitors, and they're curved screen, they're gigantic, and you could do work like that. I mean, that's like it's early days for sure, but like that's a viable thing. Can you imagine not having, people are not going to have TVs in their homes anymore?
I can see that.
There's no need for them.
You see that a lot in sci-fi, like Minority Report, all those. I mean, it's everywhere, but the first time I remember seeing it was Minority Report. Yeah, you wouldn't, right? You just project or whatever.
Yeah. What do you need color corrected, monitors for? I mean, you can have 4 or 5 of them. Like if you're in, Tyler and I both have a Meta Quest 2 headset. 2, the Quest 2, and this is beginning days. I think it's incredible, man.
So good. Ray you weren't even keep yours, and now you got it.
No, I wasn't even going to keep mine
on the golf game.
No. Yeah. It was. Like, yeah, movie shops. No one has landlines anymore. I mean, just think about that.
Yeah. I was just at my dentist, and the lady was like, I gave her like health insurance card or whatever, and she's like, I just got to fax this over. And I was like, what?
Wow.
There are fax machines?
Jesus, what did they
I think she's to steal a joke from Ted Lasso, I think she sent it to the past. But oh yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, that what I was gonna say is like, this is no one knows what's gonna happen, but you feel that there's like a trajectory, something's changing, before our eyes, and so technology is going to be integrated into our lives even more so than what it is, but the delivery mechanisms I think are changing.
And there's always something like that we don't think is going to be such a huge deal that becomes a huge deal. And that's why, I know there's a lot of people being, kind of like, I guess for lack of a better word, shit talking how like VR and how it's not going to be successful. But I mean, that could be the thing that we are very much surprised by, where we almost like laughed it off at the beginning, and then it's massive in a few years.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with the company that owns the VR company. I think that's, it's not helpful. I'm telling you, when Apple's going to get into the space, and once they do, they're going to, they have.
They tend to smash whatever space they get into, like dominate it.
Right, and they're celebrated for it too.
Yeah. So, and they like to. Their model is to come late to the game and improve on the thing that's already been done.
Yeah,
they're very good at that. I can see them totally doing it.
Yeah. And
aren't they going to announce theirs soon?
Yeah, that's the rumors. So next year.
They're waiting to announce their car.
Interesting next year. Yeah, no, yeah, right. It's fun. So like, that's what I was gonna say. YouTube VR. Got me thinking. I'm never gonna buy a big screen TV. I'll never buy one.
This leads me to. I mean, obviously, I got to ask: have you been watching like Netflix and stuff in your Quest?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's like you don't have to go to a movie theater.
No. The bitrate on like the Netflix app kind of sucks.
Yeah, they got to work on that.
But the YouTube VR, Prime is not bad. It's a little bit better. But that free stuff that you were telling me about, but I was watching a little bit of the Notre Dame documentary, the 360 documentary on the rebuilding and
pretty cool. Huh?
Incredible. Incredible.
And they have like a movie app on there where I used to go in when I first got it. I would go in there and they'd have just theater rooms that you could join. And like one of them was just playing Star Trek The Next Generation, like on random. And there were people in there. You could see their avatars chilling out, watching the movie. Like it was a super cool experience. We're not sponsored by Meta or anything.
No.
We should be though at this point.
Hey, right? You want to send us some Quest Pros?
Yeah. Get us the new ones, which are outrageously overpriced compared to what we're used to with the Quest 2.
Yeah, I mean, the amount of tech on there is going to be insane. And what's hilarious is that when Apple comes out with theirs, it's probably going to be twice the price.
That's true, and people will buy it. So I don't know why anyone's complaining.
So yeah, it's because it's okay, because whatever.
I mean, it's sort of like
4090s are $2,000.
Yeah, I know. Remember when Ray and I got 3080s last season, and
3090s, Tyler.
We got 3090s, and we were like, "This is so much! Oh my god!" And now we got 4090s out. What are we gonna do?
So, and those sold out immediately. People were like, "Who's gonna buy it?" 1,500 or was it 1,600? Yeah, not anymore. Not anymore.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the thing. They all sold out, and GPU mining is done.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It wasn't even GPU stuff.
It wasn't even GPU stuff. But Lord Adorable, to answer your question, because I see it, and I've been dying to reply to it. Rescuers Down Under was the first movie they started working with digital color. Yes. The Lion King was around, that was in 91, and I checked it. And Lion King was in 94.
Right, because Rescuers Down Under had one of the first Disney openings that used digital animation, too.
It was the first all digital movie, too, like fully colored.
Oh, digitally. Yeah. Because they used 3D stuff for the flowers and shit at the beginning, didn't they?
Yep. And the where the big eagle was, like, like the canyons and stuff.
Yeah. You probably knew that movie was a standout for me, mainly because I didn't know that it was a sequel. I was a little kid. I had no idea.
Neither did I.
And I thought it was amazing. And I didn't know any of the characters.
Didn't do well.
It didn't? Oh, makes sense.
No, isn't that crazy? I recommend a documentary by Don Hahn, former director on, oh my God, was it Little Mermaid that he did? Legend Disney at Disney. He did a documentary called Waking Sleeping Beauty. Okay. That's so good. You ever watched it?
Wait, Legend, Ridley Scott's Legend?
No. The Don Hahn was a legend.
Oh, he was a legend. And okay.
Yeah. So the documentary is called Waking Sleeping Beauty. It's about Disney animation in the 90s.
I'll have to check that out. It sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know what this thing was. It became something, and now I'm just doing my like weird faceted armor thing that I do anytime I'm concepting armor out. I should learn 3D so that I can actually make these facets work in real life.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. Draw something out like rudimentary. Like have a back and forth between. We should actually talk about this for what we're doing past this episode, Tyler. Did you want to start talking about it?
Oh, yeah. So this might be, although this stream is working pretty well, so maybe it might not be. But most likely, this will probably be the last episode for this season. Unless something changes. Maybe we'll do one or two more, but I'm not sure. I feel like Ray and I have kind of decided like this is probably the last one for the season. Just because the holidays are coming up. It gets busy and, all of that crap. But what we're thinking of doing is, we might get a lot of boos from the chat here when we say this, is moving entirely over to YouTube. I'm going to wait, see what happens in the chat. Not seeing any boos. But mainly because, YouTube's got a better algorithm and all that. And there's sort of like a gap between, like we got to export stuff from Twitch to get it to YouTube. And then, they got to edit stuff and all this extra time and things. And YouTube's just better for the content we're creating. Twitch is, not really great for it. So that's in a very quick glazed over nutshell kind of our reasoning why we kind of want to switch over and stream only on YouTube and not on Twitch. Looks like a couple people think it's cool, so all right.
I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be fantastic. I really do.
Yeah, I think it'll be better.
And also, I think the community is going to grow too.
I do too.
Because of it.
I do too. I don't know how we're going to set that up yet, but we're going to figure it out. That's kind of why we're saying, hey, maybe we end the season so that we can spend a little time figuring out how to switch over to YouTube. I'm sure it's pretty easy, but
I think it'll be fine. I think you just Google how to stream on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's just a matter of us doing exactly
OBS.
what we're doing now with OBS, just to YouTube and not to Twitch.
Yeah. So
and why are we doing it? Because of Jeff Bezos. No. I'm just joking. Well, either way, we hope when we switch over.
Why are we doing it? Because this just in, we've been banned from Twitch.
Yeah, this just in. We spoke ill of Jeffrey Bezos, and now we're gone. We hope that folks will follow us over there. That's our main hope, and that's why we wanted to let everybody know that that's going to be our plans, and hopefully, you folks come over and check us out over there on the YouTube.
I think it's. I don't know how how everyone else feels. I mean, most of all of us have YouTube accounts.
That's the thing,
YouTube
right?
apps on our phone.
Yeah.
And, you could pop in and see what other people are working on.
Well, it's like everyone's got Gmail. It's not everyone has a Twitch account. You got to set one up just to watch anything on there.
I mean, I watch
on here.
On Twitch. I did watch a lot of content on Twitch. Not as much anymore. I've been actually mostly on YouTube watching art stuff and.
Yeah. I mean, I do too. But I watch primarily game stuff on Twitch, and that's kind of what the platform is for. So I think YouTube just makes more sense for us, because that's where we all watch our art content.
Totally not knocking the game content. It's awesome.
No, I love watching game content, but it's kind of like, TV for a reason, Twitch TV for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just as a preview, not to make a promise, but we would like to Ray and I would like to create more sort of demo content for folks, and YouTube will also be a much better place for that.
Yeah, and that's something that we could set up a community. I mean, there's a lot of options you could do. We could, have streams for subscribers. Same emotes and everything like that. So that's always good. So yeah, I'm excited. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, it'll be good. But we will give everyone an update. Follow us on our Instagram so you can kind of see when we're going to make that shift. I figure if we end the season with this episode and we don't do any more this year, then we'll probably fire it back up next year, early next year.
Yeah, early next year, and then we'll on YouTube. That way it's not a jarring switchover for people, and that's why we're talking about it now instead of saying, "Hey, we're on YouTube."
Yes. Yeah, it would be weird. Just be like, "Hey, surprise!"
I know.
We might have missed some questions. Let's see what we got.
I don't know. Let's just talk about what I'm doing here. I'm just laying in values right now. There's some small little shapes I got to get in, and basically I'm just sort of laying this thing in. I've got everything kind of just covering everything up. I've already had it in my head that I'm going to go over this twice, so before hitting this up with color, or I might just go straight color, and then when I do with that, I'll be a lot more slower. But this has such a specific type of value design that I really wanted to get this in. This is why I like doing this in acrylic, because I can be a little bit faster with the design changes and I can hit this more than once. But I wanted to just do an oil paint because I had the oils all mixed up anyway.
I'm still waiting on the day that I am able to do sketches in color straight up. Yeah, I don't know when it's ever coming. I don't know if it is ever coming. But there's so
What do
many
you
artists
mean?
out. Just like there's so many artists I've seen that just will just sketch in color, just straight up. You know, Gurney does it all the time. Nathan Fox does it.
You
I
do
have
that
to.
for
I have to do a lot of. Go ahead.
your head paintings, though.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess I'm thinking more like landscapes and more complex scenes. I'm just not. I really got to sketch everything out in black and white first, especially anything. You know, this guy's kind of complicated, so I'm doing it
Right.
in black and white, so I can just play with values.
Something happened to my. Oh no, my main camera just went out. That's weird.
I can still see you though. Oh wait, your main camera. No, it's frozen. Yeah.
Guess I'll chill for a second while I figure this out.
We
I'm
can
really
go.
considering this one brushstroke.
Here, let me do a. We're gonna do a technical pause here, folks, and we will be right
I know.
back.
I think Tyler, we could still go. I think it's just because my battery died on my phone, so I'm just charging it. No biggie. I'll be right up and going.
Oh, okay. Well, then we got a question for you, Ray. Because
Yeah,
your recent magic
perfect
painting
timing.
was mostly warm tones. Did you still do a
Mm-hmm.
grayscale?
That's a great question. I actually in the I did a grayscale working out the values in my sketch that I ultimately sent to the art director. And I yeah. So when I had uh, uh, the painting, the final to go, when I got that approved, I went straight color,
Mm-hmm.
um, because it pretty much the thing about. I mean, I don't know how you think about this, but what do you think about this? But it's almost a monochromatic painting,
Yeah.
right?
I
I mean, it's
yeah.
like maybe two colors, two color groups. It's really a lot of the warm. So
But there's still
it
color
wasn't
decisions that you would want to test out, like because you could
sure,
have,
sure.
like you could have done like hot metal that was more like lava, where it's like orange and almost going to purples, or you could have
Right.
done you did the really bright like liquid molten stuff,
Yeah.
which is sets the value, like the value scale for the whole painting. Like if you would have went
Right.
dimmer, it would have gone mostly to black all throughout. Like if you did the lava kind of thing. So I think I would have done what you did. I would have solved it in grayscale first, just so that I knew the value statement.
Yeah. That was definitely it was all solved in grayscale for sure. And then I did a color sketch kind of digitally. I think I did a color sketch digitally. I don't even remember.
Yeah, I always
Maybe
do.
I
I
did
mean,
some washes.
I send
I
in
know I
my
did.
color sketches are
I
in grace. They're not in grayscale anymore. I send them in like when I send a sketch into Magic, it's not grayscale anymore. It was for years. Now I just throw all the color on really fast.
yeah. Yeah, that's me. I'm like putting color. That's what I did. That's what I did. Yeah. It's just to throw a color. Also, I thought it was essential that I thought it was really important that the art director knew what Kieran knew. What could understand or knew where I was coming from in terms of like whether or not I was getting the right feeling
Yeah, 100%.
of the setting, because I think that also plays a huge factor um, in all of that stuff. So I think the thing to remember is like regardless of my approach, I'm always considering the value pattern first. Um, I just don't think that it's like if I don't have my values arranged, especially in illustration. But I do the same in I mean gallery paintings for sure. If I don't have that figured out, um, I could really get lost in the weeds. And so I have all that stuff figured out before I even go and paint it.
Yeah.
So
And that's good practice for anybody out there. Like coming from someone who has failed to do that on so many illustrations, it is the worst, and you are stuck in the weeds forever. Like figure out your values first. It will save your ass because nothing is worse than like finishing a painting, especially if you're doing one in traditional format. Nothing's worse than
yeah,
finishing like an oil painting and having every inch of it be the wrong value from like your digital sketch, and then to have to go in and try and correct it. It's
yeah.
maddening.
No, it's awful. It's awful. And so the execution of that painting was like pretty simple and easy because everything was planned already.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, yeah. Now the 3D stuff was interesting because I used 3D in that to generate my reference. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted the freedom of picking my own camera angle and designing my lighting to the T. So that way I didn't have to have a lion's head that was made out of bronze or metal, shooting hot magma or molten metal out of its mouth. Like it's hard to find reference or something like that. So you'd have to do a lot of like comping together, and then there was too much guesswork that um, for me, and there were specific designs too. So there's all these questions that needed to be answered, and so I sculpted a quick lion using reference of a lion in Nomad Sculpt, and then brought that into Blender and arranged stuff with Kitbash 3D assets, and then move my lights around and just played around with just different iterations of different camera angles and things like that.
That's great.
And then brought that into Photoshop and just messed around with just pushing things back, pushing things forward. And I really enjoyed that process, like really enjoyed it. I didn't sculpt it in Blender because I don't know how to do that yet. At the time, I still don't know. I kind of know, but I had a workflow for Nomad because I had bought some courses on it. So, and it was great. It was great. Um, so I think the thing to remember about so Wolby Chop said, can you talk about the brief and how you translate the idea from words to image? So like
Yeah, you almost
the
just
brief
answered
gives
that.
you yeah, that's basically what it is, you know. And so I'm always working. That's the thing about generating that reference is that, and I think why 3D works for me is because I'm able to build and design my assets based off of the style guide that I'm given. So that's the thing. Like I can't just put. It can't just be like I don't know any setting I want. It's got to be a specific type of medieval-esque high fantasy setting. It's because it's already been designed. So, um, I was really, really uh, careful on. I tried to be as careful as possible to make sure that it was consistent with the style guide, um, because it has to all feel like it's coming from the same universe. Even though I'm, obviously uh, a lot more painterly than someone like Chase Stone or something like that, but it's all everyone everyone's using the same stuff, um,
And that's always the hardest feedback too. When you've put your sketch together and you've sent it in, for like a magic piece, and the feedback is like, oh, it needs to look more like our reference. So I always pay attention to that really closely. Even if I push things through my own little filters, I will.
yeah.
I'm pretty careful about keeping it on guide.
And that's even though I had never really, I mean, I was like I said, did a bunch of illustration, but like that was the first time I worked to a style guide, and I'd seen style guides in the past, understood what their importance and things like that, but again, it's like we were talking about before with Tyler, with
hey man, making, I gotta do a be right back.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
I think Tyler, is he still there? Oh, okay. So, all right. Let's listen in on Tyler Jacobson's studio. Can anybody give me a transcript of that conversation? Well, anyway, I thought it was yeah, no worries, man. We
oh, did you
never
me?
left us.
Yeah, man, we heard everything. I thought I turned my mic off. Well, I'm here now.
You're gonna end up on YouTube as like, you know, top 10, you know, Twitch streamer fails, you know.
Yeah, I turned my mic completely down, and apparently you guys heard me. So maybe the stream didn't, but you probably did.
Oh, okay. So that actually makes more sense, because I would have heard you on Discord. Okay, so here's the thing. I found that style guides, working like that, is really close to working on a body of work for a gallery. Like, it's all got to look like it came from the same artist, and it's like a complete idea.
Mm-hmm.
And the style guides goes like a little extra, because everything is like nuance, which is important. And yeah, I really enjoyed that. Actually, it was actually really relaxing. I didn't have to design everything. I don't know if does that make sense? Like,
yeah, totally.
It's like, because I've gotten briefs before from, like, you know, card art, where they're describing things, but like, you know, that one's interpretation of it, there's so many ways you can kind of interpret it. And so there was always a lot of back and forth, like saying, can you know, with changes, like, okay, you make it more look like this or more like that, not necessarily this, but, you know, from this region of the world, and this type of armor from, mix it a little bit more with this Eastern influence. And it's just like, with the style guide, it's like, here's the concept of it, this is the feeling of it, these are the elements that we're using. And it's like, oh, okay, I totally get the shapes, I totally get this, I totally get that, you know.
Yeah, dude. And I mean, that's something we work really hard on when we're doing style guide creation, you know, for Magic, where it's easy. It's so much easier on the artist when we've solved all of that stuff. When like all the visuals are basically solved ahead of time.
Oh my God, yeah.
And they can, you know, you can just hand them, like, you can just point them to a page and be like, one of these silhouettes with like the feel of this page, and then it's done. God, it's such a lifesaver. I mean, I've seen both ends of it, where I've created those pages knowing how I want them to look if I were the artist working on them, and then receiving the pages. And I've also, you know, received not enough information, and that's always difficult.
Right. I think that, I mean, it's, the cool thing is, though, you could, this is why I think that the style guides are helpful, in the sense that, like, you're not going to get, obviously they're not meant to, they're meant to inform you. So, and I think this is where 3D comes in for me. It's like, okay, I can actually sculpt that and make it my own by designing my own composition with it, and I know that it will be consistent with the style guide, because I'm using their original, you know, concepts as reference.
Yeah.
So you could take that idea and do your own thing with it, and I find I could just think so much better, more clear, my thoughts more might clarify my thoughts much more when I have that. When I could use 3D. But
yeah, I'm starting to feel the same way. I mean, I use DAZ and stuff. There's a stiffness to it that I've been trying to avoid, but I am I'm sort of leaning more on, like I think on this stream, like I did a little sketch of like an orc head or something, but then I lit it.
Yeah.
I exported it as an OBJ and brought it into Daz and used their lighting program. I should learn Blenders because I think Blenders is a lot easier.
Well,
Although
I'm sure like
oh no, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'm sure Daz is like meant to be like, hey, you could do cool stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas like, you know, it's trying to be a Swiss Army knife, like for that, you know. A Blender is like much more like I would imagine that you get pretty darn nuanced with Blender, but the you know obviously the learning curve is much more steep because I messed around with Daz a while ago to do an illustration, and it didn't take that long at all to learn how to light things and
their lighting
things out
is
and
nice and
pose
simple.
things.
Yeah, it's nice and simple.
Yeah.
And if we don't want to light anything at all, you can just turn on the sun sky dome and just be like, it's this time of day, this time of year. And then you get like perfectly natural like daylight dome. I'm sure that's in Blender as well, but it's so easy to find. And
yeah, like an HDRI. Yeah, it's like super easy. Yeah, Blender's just dense. It's not as straightforward, you know, because it's doing a lot. At least that's the way I've found it. But you know, it's like Blender is to Photoshop as, sorry, Blender is to Daz in many ways, like as like Photoshop is to Procreate. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they could do the same things, but man, if you really want to get nuanced into and do 10 other things, you would pick Photoshop over Procreate. But if you just wanted to draw and this is all you wanted to do, and it's all about the art and all about drawing, and you didn't want to like do too much, like do photo editing or like prepare things for 3D or you know, then Procreate's great.
Yeah, I was working on that today. I had a cover piece I need to work on. I was just sketching on there. Didn't come into the studio or anything. It was nice just to chill and work on that. I think I'm gonna get the new iPad.
They're beasts, man. Super fast, and they could just handle kind of anything, you know.
Yeah, it's like I don't have any Apple devices. It's the only one that I have. But I friggin' love it, dude. It's such a good thing. I wish they would make. I think we've talked about this a bunch of times on the stream. I wish Apple would just put out a like giant screen, like a huge Cintiq level screen that is an iPad.
Yeah.
It would crush.
I don't think it would, but I don't think it would ever. I don't think it's worth their time.
Yeah, maybe it's too niche.
You know? It's way too niche. I would think for them because they're popular, you know. But hey, never say never.
Never say never. Not with Apple.
Never say never.
Making a car.
Not with Apple. It's coming out. It's coming out.
Coming out 2030. Apple car.
2030. Yeah, I think you know what I would love, because I've got a 2017 Pro and it does everything I need it to do. I can tap it, like I could basically peg it. Because my workflow is like if I wanted to do intense, like nuanced Nomad stuff. Like you got to get into Nomad. I think you would love really messing with Nomad because the lighting engine on that thing is
I love it.
Sick.
I love it. I've been messing with it a little bit, but it's so easy to light stuff immediately. Like I've been doing little busts in it, and I just light the bust, and then I can freely sculpt on the bust in that lighting. That's nuts. Like no lag, no nothing.
No lag, yeah. And like that's the reason why I would want to get another iPad, is because I want more horsepower to do stuff like that. And like they just did a update for it, and it is like you could do layers, but you can parent the layers to each other. I don't know the actual term for it, but like you basically can sculpt an arm, cut it up into 3 locations, or like let's just say you have a mechanical spider or something like that, and you have all these like gears, you can actually rig it basically
Wow,
so that
wow.
when you pick up the one part, the end of it, the other ones, the rest of them are going to follow. You don't have to move each individual part. It's like inverse kinematics. It's almost like that. It's like
That's
um
amazing. They're almost like
yeah, it's
prepping
pretty
for
slick.
visual effects and animation and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Or and you could just for like wonderful posing stuff. Oh man, it's great. Because before you'd have to like kind of slice up your model
Dude,
like an
this
action
is,
figure, and then
you got to link me a video to them showing this because this is something I've been
dude,
wanting
it's
in. Like, I've tried this. I know it's possible to do it, and I think we've talked about it, but you can do it in ZBrush, like where you can create your topography and then you can repose the figure and then still have sculptable symmetry.
mm-hmm.
And it's just, I've tried so many times to make it work, and it's super difficult, but it's doable. And if they had that available in Nomad, man, I'd be on it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea. That I wouldn't know. I'll send you a actually the a link to the guy who I took the course from, Glenn Southern, who's a um, great teacher, and he just knows his stuff, and he knows all of it, like you know everything. He just knows all the 3D stuff. So
Yeah.
ZBrush and so he has a YouTube series called Southern GFX. That's his YouTube channel, but he offers courses in Nomad, and they're so well done. He's a really good teacher, and I just you know just being a teacher myself, I like I respect the skills, when I see them, and it's like, wow, man, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, dude.
Uh,
That's super cool.
uh, but so he has a video on like the top 10 on that like kind of rigging thing, because that's been out for the beta has been that's been in beta for a while. Excuse me.
Oh, right, right.
But the new version just came out, the new update, and it is so all that stuff is in. So he did a top 5, great things about the update.
Oh, sweet,
Forgot
sweet.
one of it's ambient occlusion now. You have
Oh, okay. Dang.
so like you can make your model paint it so that like paint a mask on it so that it feels like the skin's translucent.
Yeah, yeah, some subsurface stuff.
Sorry, subsurface scattering. That's what I meant. And I think ambient occlusion. Like the render engine's got a bunch of new features on it.
Yeah, yeah.
It's on an iPad. It's on an iPad.
It's
Give me
crazy.
a
Like
break.
the what it can do. It's nuts.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna let you fill the air here for a sec. I actually gotta. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
You'll probably still hear me, but I'm gonna turn my mic off, and
Well,
hopefully the stream won't hear anything. But I'm gonna
the stream.
bang a whole bunch of drums
Okay.
here off camera real fast.
Okay. No
I'll be
problem.
right back.
So yeah, so I know this has turned into like where it talks about 3D, but I'm really considering this brushstroke here. It's my hand starting to cramp, but I'm just not sure if it's going to work or not. Actually, you know what? We have juice. Yep, I think we're good. Okay. Let's give this another go, shall we? All right. So I'm just hooking up this camera here. For those of you just joining us, my battery on my phone died, which was powering my device because I forgot to charge it before Livebrush because I'm a professional streamer. There we go. Let's see what we got here. We're back, Jack. Okay. So this is what I've done so far on it. Yep, there it is. Just basically laying in the values, being as broad as possible. Really concerned about losing too much of the drawing. I still want to preserve some of this stuff in here just in case there's things that I need to address in the composition that I see. There's like these little cars, and I just want to make sure that I'm not being too broad. The big goal is to get the clouds and sky working against the trees, and I don't think I'm getting there. It's not there yet, but I'm getting there, and it's starting to come forward. The cool thing about working in value like this is I don't have to worry about mudding up my color, which is perfect for me, because then it makes
I'm back
talking with other people. Tyler,
I bet you didn't. I bet you didn't have dead air for 2 seconds. I bet it was endless. It's like the web.
I got my look at this.
Finally got you though.
I finally put down that stroke. I said that my hand was starting to cramp because I was keeping my my brush and just eyeing it, you know.
Oh, we got a question. So have you ever thought about going back and redoing one of your art school paintings? Have you ever thought of this?
Dude, you know, we've talked about like going back and just taking the classes again.
Yeah. Dude, that'd be awesome.
That'd be fun.
I'd be a much better student. That's kind of a rule for like all classes for me. If I took every class I ever took in undergrad and grad school, I'd be a much better student today.
Yeah. I think it would, you know, would I do the old assignments again? I think it would be fun. I don't know if I'd redo them because I'm such a different artist. I kind of just want, you know what I would do? I would love the space just to paint from a model. Like I'd really love to do that.
Yeah, me too. I'd like that.
Just work on skills, you know, and just for the joy of painting. It's, you know, I think that's
just practicing.
I have fun painting. Don't get me wrong. It's just practicing. That's why I think next season I'm going to be a little bit more in the realm of practicing. Like I'm going to start bringing in. I've been talking to Tyler, and I've been talking about this a lot, but I'm going to be maybe working in 3D a little bit more, working on just fun stuff. I think this season was really swamped with gallery shows, and I've been really behind just because my schedule just got nutty with life stuff. So I got really far behind on my gallery stuff, so I've been scrambling to catch up. But the cool thing is you see all of these gallery paintings coming through, which is nice. And I still might do that for sure, but I think I really want to get back to us just like, hey, let's do paintings about Conan, or like let's do,
yeah, for sure,
something about movies.
I'm up for that. I'd like to do more sort of like I don't even know what we'd call them. I guess like fan art stuff. Like that sounds like fun.
I mean, I already know. I would love to do Conan the Barbarian, sculpt him in 3D, and somehow do a painting from that.
Dude, this is a thing that I think, maybe someone like Chase Stone ran into this. I think he probably did. It's the idea that like you would put all that time into sculpt. You'd put all of that time into sculpt one of your pieces of reference, and then you'd paint a painting from that. But it's like, well, I already did all the work, all the minute work to sculpt this whole thing. Why don't I just
Right.
plop it down and paint over it? Essentially like matte paint over it. Which
Yeah.
I think Chase. When I've talked with Chase about it, he went down the rabbit hole essentially where he was like, I built this really good looking figure and I've simulated the clothing and like Marvelous Designer and it looks incredible. But now I don't have a good looking room for this character to stand in. So I'm going to build a whole room and then I'm going to build all the things that are on the table in the room. And if there's a stained glass window, I'm going to build a stained glass window. All this, like he's
Yeah.
building everything.
Right. Yeah. Well, I guess I wouldn't. I would be. I guess I would build assets to it. Like I would build certain parts and then dress the other parts. I still would want to do an oil painting from it. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, it makes total
I don't know
sense.
why. It's like
I would too.
When I look at the reference. When I look at the reference, okay. So here's a different thing. That's a good question. If I was in Chase's position and I did digital artwork, and that's all I did, because I know he comes from a traditional, like he did. You said he's got crazy drawing, like graphite, right?
He's very good.
I'm sorry, there's no doubt about it. He's like nuts, right? And so, if the end product was digital, I would be putting in the 3D assets in there because I designed them, I made them, I did all this stuff. Why do I need to translate them, into another medium when they came from my hand? And I totally get that. And his work is insane. His work is insane.
I feel
we were just
the same
looking at
way,
that piece he did for the thing. But I would want it. I would get it. So the way I felt about the painting that I had, the magic card was like, I can't wait to paint this in oils because think about how good this reference looks. You know, like it's almost there. Like I just want to see it realized physically.
I feel the same. I got to get better at the 3D stuff, but I would want to paint the painting, like just pretending like I had the best reference in the world that I just sculpted. But yeah, if it was digital, like in Chase's case, his finishes are digital and that's what he sends to the client. But if I was doing a physical painting, yeah, I would want that in there.
Yeah, exactly. And so I get it. I get it. That's why, like if it were not that I'm even think that I'm a concept artist, but in concept art, that's why I totally get why there's so much photo bashing and all that stuff is essential to it because you're iterating so fast.
Yeah, and the end result
it's all about the idea.
Yeah, and the target, right? The target you're shooting for in those cases it's just like Streusen, right? Like the target he was shooting for was really accurate portraits of actors that everybody knew. So he had to trace photographs to get there. And in concept art, the target that everyone's going for is usually almost, for AAA stuff, a very realistic game or film. Film is real, obviously. So in the game sense, they're going for something film adjacent or film like. And so photo bashing's great because it's film, right? It looks real. So you just throw it in there and use it.
Yeah, and I think that's like, man, I mean, that's how I comp my references together. It's just these like Frankenstein type of elements. But I love that. Like if I can get it realistic enough that it looks like I'm just painting from life, that would be the ultimate for me.
Yeah, and you get all this cool nuance too when you do that texture and
exactly. And I also think I could design. I know it was like a simple little lion, but I felt like, man, I really am okay designing in 3D. I really think like that. Like that's something I realized about myself. I like the physical nature of like, okay, what does it look like in, how's the silhouette on the side? What's that, look like? Or I can push this shape down in here. Like I'm more willing to do that in 3D rather than in 2D,
Yeah, it makes total sense.
I'm not worried about really perspective because the perspective's set by the camera angle.
Yeah, I mean, and sometimes it's easier when you're working on something like really complicated, or you just can't envision in your head like the coolest angle. So when you have the 3D item, you can just rotate it around and find the really cool way to view it.
Exactly. And so Booby Chops was like, at that point, just hire a model and prop maker, costumer, and get the real reference. Yeah. So like, yeah.
Some artists do that.
The cool thing is, some artists do that,
but they can't get like infinite lighting scenarios.
I want to be everything. That's what, like, I want total control. I want to be the studio I view the computer as like an entire film studio in a box.
Well, that's what Chase is doing too, man. He says the same thing. Like, he wants to make amazing fantasy images from stuff that you couldn't, like, without, being Weta Workshop, you couldn't depict. So like his whole goal is to make these insanely beautiful, like hyper realistic fantasy images. And the only way to do it is to build everything in 3D and light it all so that it's like hyper realistic.
Well, I just feel like with 3D, at least for me, is like, I know I'm only limited by my imagination. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you are. That's true.
I'm not worried about like, where am I going to find reference to this? Because how am I going to, because I paint pretty representationally. So I'm not like a stylized artist. Not knocking them at all. I'm just saying like, I need believable, realistic reference to paint from in order to fully imagine it. I need that help, and if I can, especially when it comes to lighting and angles and things like that. And so if I could create that, which has been, by the way, been done for centuries. I mean, like, who was it? Was it Titian or Tintoretto that sculpted all his figures?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, and like Thomas Blackshear was doing it.
Freaking Thomas Blackshear, baby. Did you see the video of Alex Ross doing that for his comic book work? Dude, for Fantastic Four, the newest stuff he did, it's all sculpted heads, and he lit them. Pretty cool. They're action figures, which he had used action figures in the past. You know who also does that? The king of all that, in my opinion, a genius when it comes to how to, like, I look at his work and I'm like, that's how I need to use reference, or that is just a masterful way. Is Paulo Rivera? Yeah,
he's so good at it, and it's always like, I remember his videos. It's like, or his images, it's like him a lot of the times.
Yeah, and now he's like ZBrush with a little bit of marmoset, and like he gets into 3D, but he used to sculpt that stuff, himself. That's the thing. If like, I'm doing a children's book about a made-up person, or like I want to do a series of images, like,
for comics too, it's like drawing a consistent looking character over and over and over again. Man, if you got a 3D model, whew, I know it's game like over. A sin in the comic world probably, but
well, a lot of them at the time, this is when I was like closely following it, they were using SketchUp. They were hiring people to either build SketchUp, build models of SketchUp, like of the locations that were often used, like offices and things like that, or building it themselves. And that's when like you were using SketchUp,
dude,
at that time.
When I look at when I look at those complex buildings and comics, I'm just like, give me SketchUp any day. I'm not going to draft that out.
Any day.
Screw that. I hate perspective.
No, yeah, me too. Leonardo da Vinci. That's funny.
Oh man. So yeah, when I had to get up earlier, I've been I'm in my new studio, and I have a sink that I bought that has hookups, but I'm not allowed to install it myself, which I totally would, but I'm not allowed to. And I've been trying to get a hold of the guy to do it, and he's just kind of ghosted me. And then now he shows up in the middle of the stream to do it.
That's funny. Of course.
Of
Maybe
course,
he's a
right?
fan. He knows.
Yeah. So now it'll never get done.
All right.
That's my point. The sync will never get installed.
Listen, we got this stream running, Tyler.
That's true. That's all that matters.
Come on, one miracle out of per day, okay?
I want to do my next painting in acrylic, and I need the sink. Damn it!
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
It'll happen. It's not great content for the stream, so sorry, folks.
What's that? Sync content is the best type of content.
Sync content.
Sync content's the best.
The perils of
this is
an art studio.
This is gonna kill. It's gonna kill on YouTube. If it doesn't kill on Twitch, it's gonna kill on YouTube.
We're gonna get the highest. We're gonna get the most watches.
You know, there's an artist by the name of Jake Parker. You know Jake Parker?
I think so. You might have mentioned him before.
I think he created Inktober. I think.
Oh, really? Thanks, dude. The thing I've never ever participated in.
I'm busy, man. I'm busy. I can't do it. I got a thing. Yeah. He said the thing that he likes about YouTube is that he gets recommended videos that are useful to him that were made like 5-10 years ago.
Right.
And he says he doesn't know another social media platform where that happens.
Yeah, for sure. It's all like immediate TikTok stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I like that. I like that sentiment. And I think Twitch, that's why our VODs are on YouTube, obviously. But I mean, besides the fact that you can't have the Twitch VODs, it's not really a platform meant for VODs. Really,
yeah,
you have them, but
they stay up for like a really short amount of time.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and for me, I would love to have, if I were like, watching artists work on stuff, I would like to rewatch the progress of like a singular piece, which I think is cool,
Well, yeah, and like I'll do that when I'm watching art videos on YouTube. I'll rewind it or go over it a million times, replay it. There's like that one Australian artist,
Andrew Tisher.
Yeah, Andrew Tisher. Like I've watched his varnishing video like 50 times. Like when I'm like, I forget how I'm supposed to apply this, I'll go watch it again.
Yeah. The Tish man, he's great. He's on YouTube?
Yeah, he's on YouTube as well. Nobody disagreed, so I think we don't have to argue.
No, I know.
Phantoms.
No, I'm just arguing with no one. Yeah, I'm arguing with phantoms. Conrad, thanks so much for that. He said, just been lurking, just wanted to say glad you're both streaming again.
Oh yeah, man.
So are we.
Sorry for the long delay.
Tyler doesn't even have a sink, folks.
Yeah, I don't even have a sink. Yeah, I think I got COVID, and then we tried to do a show, and we did a couple, and then I went to do D&D in a castle, which was pretty fun.
Oh my God, yeah.
Do a whole episode recapping
and then
that.
We were scheduled to come back right after you came back, and I was like, Tyler's insane.
Yeah.
And then so that we didn't.
I don't know why I thought that was going to work. I think I got the days wrong too. Like we got back from the UK on Tuesday, but it was like in the afternoon, and we'd been up for hours and hours and hours. So
yeah,
it's like foolish to think that was going to work.
Yeah, and then the internet, and it doesn't take long, and all of a sudden we're not there. But
yeah, I mean, I think once I'm like fully set up in this studio, and because there's like a guy down the hall. So just to recap everybody, I moved to like a giant building that just has studio spaces, not just for artists, but most of it's actually nail salons, it looks like. But there's a guy down the hall who runs a radio show. I think it's like it's called like Latino FM or something. He just runs a radio show out of his studio space that's a lot like mine. So I think there's like a realistic future where we can get set up streaming again, and I can like soundproof, and it can be more like a recording scenario, especially if we're going to be permanently on YouTube.
We're not going anywhere.
I'll have to
probably end up
plug that guy about being on soundproofing.
Yeah, that'd be sick. Yeah, I gotta eventually treat my room. I have a bunch of carpet, but I just need a soundproof. My ceilings are fairly high, so
probably bat-proof it first, dude.
Story for another day. Bastards.
Man, well, it looks like we got a couple minutes left on this. You got anything cool?
Dude, we have 2 minutes left. 2 minutes left. I have a couple of things. First, I have that stream on sentient.com coming up at it was 7:30 in the evening on Tuesday, next Tuesday the 14th. Nice. Watch out for I'll post it on Livebrush's Instagram page as well as my own. I have 2 shows coming up. A solo show next week on Friday from at a Ben gallery that I'm really excited about, as well as a group show at My Mom Fine Arts at East Aurora that I'll be posting about. I got 2 more gallery shows after that, and a bunch of other great announcements that I'm can't talk about right now, but I will be talking about in terms of just being able to study with me and in a more consistent fashion. So it's going to be a lot of fun. What about you, Tyler?
Busy man. Nothing crazy. I will be at, if any of you folks in the stream are at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia in a few weeks. I think it's the weekend of December 1st to the 5th or something like that. I will be there with my art book and there to sign magic cards and the usual. And I think that's the last event I'm doing this year. But yeah.
Awesome. If you don't own his artwork, buy a copy. It's incredible. It really is.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, I'll have those with me, and when I have them with me at conventions, I do little sketches in them. So that's a little added bonus. Yeah.
I don't have anything. I don't have anything.
This is a thing. Well, we don't have enough time to get into this because it's over. But I didn't because of the COVID printing process. I couldn't do that.
Where can people find? Actually, you know what? Why don't you sign off and talk about where people can find the book and your artwork and who you are again?
All right. I am Tyler Jacobson. I am him and always will be. Well, you never know. Matter changes and stuff. It's weird. But yeah, you can find my art book at Flesk Publishing, and you can find a link to it on my website as well, tylerjacobsonart.com. So please check that out. It's a pretty cool book, I think, and we will have a follow-up coming down the road. And you can check me out on Instagram as well at tylerjacobsonart. And you, my good sir, who have you been?
So I've been, and sometimes will be, Ray Bonilla. You can find my artwork at raymondbonilla.com or on Instagram at Ray Bonilla Painter. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us and staying with us through our technical hurdles. It was a lot of fun, and we'll be back next year. So this will probably be the last episode for the season. We will be back though on YouTube. We really appreciate you always being here in the chat, and always are very appreciative of the Livebrush community. So if you're watching this on demand on YouTube, look out for our live coverage coming up. If you did like this video, please feel free to give us a like. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, and in the comments write why Tyler messed up the stream this time. And
we did it though.
If you like this comment, if you like this type of content, consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification so that you know when there's a new video on. And if you want to hear about or keep up to date on when the shows are, consider following us on Instagram at Livebrush. So thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate it. And yeah, if we don't see you, have a fantastic holiday season, and we'll be back for sure next year. Take care. Thanks, Tyler.
See you soon. Thanks, Ray.